Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Zishan Rahat Qureshi. I am the founder and CEO of High Achievers League. So today we have with us a Pakistani student studying in the United States, Mr. Irzam Sarfraz. He is doing PhD from in bioinformatics from Boston University. So Assalamu alaikum Irzam and welcome to our program.
Walaikum assalam. Thank you for having me here today.
So how are you doing? How's the weather in Boston right now? And are you enjoying yourself?
Yeah, the weather is mostly nice. It's starting to get cold now, and it will get very cold. So this is very nice weather right now.
Okay, good to know that. So let's start. So my first question is, what were you doing in Pakistan before you embarked on your journey for higher education
Yeah.
in the US?
So in Pakistan, I did my bachelor's in computer science, and during my bachelor's, I did one internship. Then I did my master's in computer science, and I did another internship during my master's. And that internship led to sort of like a remote job in the US. So that is what I was doing. I was working remotely. And as you already know, that we had this COVID where everything went remote. So that is the period where I was working remotely. So that worked very well for me.
Okay. All right. So just a brief introduction about your field. This seems to be an interesting field, bioinformatics. So थोड़ा सा आप बताएंगे कि क्या है ये फील्ड और इसमें क्या किया जाता है?
So bioinformatics में इस तरह है कि you use computer science principles, you use some software development, you use machine learning algorithms, but you use all of them um, in biology, like biological data. You can identify genes that may be interesting for you. You can work on cancer data sets and things like that. ठीक है, so essentially आप computer science की applications को apply कर रहे हैं biology में. So that's what bioinformatics is.
All right. So Irzam, there are so many universities that students can go to for higher education. So why in particular did you select the United States?
So with respect to bioinformatics, there are two areas that are popular or have a lot of resources for bioinformatics. It's either the United States, and not like whole of the United States, but some universities in the United States. And secondly, it's some areas in Europe. So it's not like a very common field like computer science. So like you have, a university that has programs for computer science, and that is all over the world, but you have to find specific universities for bioinformatics. So that's why it's like a specific area where you want to go. And why I chose the United States is because I was already working here remotely and I knew people here. So knowing people makes your life very easy comparatively.
Mm, that's true. So besides Boston University, did you apply in other universities for the same program?
Yeah, I applied to almost 6 or 7 universities. I got interview call from almost 3 universities, and I was accepted at all 3 of them. So I
Oh,
decided for
that's good.
Boston University. Yeah, I decided for Boston University because so this is where I was working remotely with a professor already from back home. So just because I knew people here, I knew the program, and it's also the oldest bioinformatics program in the United States. So if you want to do bioinformatics, Boston University is very good for it.
All right. And if I may ask, what was your CGPA in your previous degree in
So
Pakistan?
in master's, I had almost 3.87, but in bachelor's, which I think matters more, is like 3.4 something. So I was above average, but I wasn't at the very top. There were a lot of people that were
Right, and
above
that's
me.
why what the US universities are looking for is a complete package. So they look at you
Yeah,
holistically, right? So CGPA is just one
exactly.
factor.
I think, yeah. So I think what they look for the most is how relevant you are to their program. So how do you present yourself to them that you are a good package for them, right? And a way to do that is to get very, good recommendation letters. So I had 3 or 4 recommendation letters, and 3
Okay.
of them were from the professors in the United States, because I had been doing some work with them, some work with one professor, another with another professor. So I think that mattered a lot. So CGPA, I don't think anyone ever asked me what your CGPA is, except for you. Yeah,
Okay.
right.
Right. All right.
Yeah.
So, one thing that the students are really scared of, or वो आपको पता है वो है GRE. So, what about GRE? Did you have to take the test, or it
I
wasn't
am
required?
extreme. I was extremely scared of GRE, so I did not take it. And when I was looking for universities, I made an Excel sheet and I only noted down universities that did not need GRE exam.
All
One
right.
reason is that the sort of work that you are doing to prepare for GRE is not the work that you're going to be in your graduate program. So I specifically looked at the programs that did not require GRE exam.
All right. Okay. And another question that students ask, this is, publications चाहिए कि नहीं? So, did you have any publications?
Yeah, मेरे पास 2 पब्लिकेशंस थी। मैंने 2 दफ़ा एडमिशन के लिए अप्लाई किया इन 2 डिफरेंट ईयर्स। फर्स्ट टाइम मेरे पास एक पब्लिकेशन थी और मेरा एडमिशन नहीं था हुआ। आई डिड गेट इंटरव्यू, but second time I had 2 publications, and I also revised my statement of purpose or letter of intent or whatever you have to write that essay or the
Right.
that letter. I revised that, and I also had 2 publications when I got admitted.
Right. So this also means that students should not give up. So it's not necessary that you may get admission the first time. So it's all the matter of, keep trying and keep improving your profile, right?
Exactly. Like the reason is that everyone who applies to the program, they are already good enough, right? So all of them should be accepted because they applied because they were good and they wanted to progress. But the issue is that the funding is very limited, and the program can only accept like 7 or 8 students. So and like 200 to 300 students apply to each university, and that makes it very difficult for the people at the university, the administration, to decide who they want to keep and who they want to reject. So it doesn't mean that you were rejected because you were not good. It's just that some people were a little better than you and they were better suited to the program. So just keep applying and figure out what went wrong and just improve on that.
Right. So how long have you been in the US so far?
So this is my second year here.
All right.
I just started my
And
second year of PhD.
right. And how did you find the education system, the environment, the people? How's been your experience?
It's been pretty good so far. I've made a lot of friends. What I like the most about the education system here is the relationship between you and the professors is very different to what we have back home. And the reason is mostly because back home, there's like a particular protocol that you have to follow, like saying sir and things like
Right.
that. I've seen, like some people holding back for the professor, and we call that respect back home, but that also creates this sort of like barrier between you and the professor. But here it's more like you are a colleague to that professor, so you can like really get in touch with them. You can really make a relationship with them, a professional relation, which is really good for your work. So it's just a difference in culture what we have here.
That's true. When I remember when I was doing my master's from US, so it was so easy to, get in touch with the professors. The access was so easy. They were always in their rooms. You could just straight go in, sometimes even without an appointment. So yeah, I agree with you. That's such a different kind of relationship between the teachers and the students. So have you been able to visit some other places other than Boston. So where did you
Yeah,
go?
so the first year is a little hard because you have a lot of courses to take, like core courses and
Courses and
everything.
everything.
Um, but I did go to New York City. I did go to mostly I've been on the East Coast. So I went to New York City, I went to Delaware, I went to New Jersey, and I think Well, New York City is very good for taking pictures, posting on
Mhm.
Instagram and things like that, tall buildings and everything. Um, I found Delaware, some cities in Delaware to be very, very peaceful. So I'm like, if I ever get to work remotely, this is where I will go to stay and work remotely. It's
All
very
right.
peaceful, it's very peaceful. So yeah.
So this is just a start. You've just been there. This is your second year. So I know you will be going to a lot of places and you'll be
Mhm.
enjoying yourself in the US. All right. So, Irzam, what are your future goals? Where do you see yourself 5 years and 10 years from now?
Um, PhD here. So one thing I want to mention, PhD here is very long compared to like in Europe. Like in Europe, you can do your PhD in like 2 or 3 years, but here, minimum is like 5 years, and it can take up to 7 years. So my goal right now is just to finish my PhD. I'm probably gonna think about what I'm gonna do next, but that will probably be in like my last years of PhD, not right now. Right now, I just gotta go through this. It's very long.
Okay. So, last question. What would you like to suggest to students who are right now preparing to apply for masters and for PhD in the US? So, since you know the deadlines would be starting pretty soon in December, so any suggestions for such students?
So one thing is that applying for masters is very different from applying for PhD. For PhD, you are looking more at research, but for masters, you're looking more into going into industry. So this is how you have to. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Sorry for
Okay,
the
I
problem
can
with the
see your
camera.
screen. Okay, so yeah, so there is a difference in both applying for PhD and for masters. If you're applying for PhD, I think the best decision is that you look at your professor, you look at the professors that may be relevant to you. And I used to do that, but I didn't know what I didn't know back then was that it's best that you reach out to the students in the lab and not the professors themselves. Like you can reach out to professors, but it's best that you reach out to one or two students in the lab and ask them about it. Like, is the professor hiring? What does the professor work about? Can you meet me over Zoom? So that is something that I wish I knew a few years ago, but that might be very helpful for you. For masters, I think it's just a competition, and you're like, for masters, it's not like looking at the whole package. So they might just be looking at your GPA, your grades, and what you want to do next. So it's a little different. So you got to figure out if you want to apply for masters or PhD. Both are very different. In the US, you do masters because you want to go into the industry, and you can go into PhD directly from bachelor's if you want to go into research. So they are two different things and should not be merged together.
Okay, so thank you so much, Irzam, for this interview. It was very nice to have you here. I apologize for the technical glitch that we had in the end, and I am very confident that this information that you shared would be very helpful for the students who are now about to apply for US universities. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was great talking to you.